Welcome back to the Habit Based Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Ewell. Today, we got a very special guest, Dr. Josh Browning, and he's part of our VIP weight loss system, and actually has just been in it just under about 45 days. And Josh, I want to welcome you on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Hey, can you give us just kind of a little bit of background on you? I know, I mentioned you're a doctor, but initially kind of what made you get into chiropractic and then what made you essentially want to begin to add weight loss as part of that service?
I originally was going to go to nursing school and go into nurse anesthesia. And I did some interning and stuff over the summer. And I kind of realized that you never see people on a good day. And I'm a people person, and it's hard to talk to those patients, when they're asleep. And then I studied martial arts my whole life, and I injured my neck. There was a chiropractor in the class, and he said, "Hey, I'll fix you. I'll work on you." And I said, "No, you're a quack. There's no way. I'm scared." And he said, "I won't charge you. You're my buddy." He worked on me 2 times, and 6 months of neck pain was gone.
Wow.
Yeah, so I went and spent time with him, shadowed a few other ones, and I said, "Hey, this is for me."
Okay.
And then,
Cool.
with weight loss, my wife and I had kind of slowly gained some weight. I was about 30 pounds overweight. I used to bowl professionally. I bowl semi-professionally. I wasn't happy with how I looked. I had no energy. And when I bowled, my knee was just killing me. And I was struggling to get through entire rounds of tournaments, which of course was hurting me mentally and physically. So we decided, hey, we needed to both make a change, and we did. And that's, when I became passionate about it.
Okay. And initially, how long, are we talking about when you guys decided to make this change?
Man, I think we attempted to make a change 3 years ago, and then really about a year and a half ago, we got serious, and
Okay.
that's when we really got into shape.
Okay, cool. And, just so people kind of understand, like, what specifically, were your results when it came to you making that change yourself, you and your wife's?
Yeah, so I think combined we lost about 60 pounds. I'm not a big
Okay.
guy anyway, but I was carrying a lot around in my belly and stuff. The
Kingpin, right? It was
Yeah,
the
exactly. But the biggest thing for me is number one, I'm a physician, and I talk to people about good healthcare every day, and I had it looked like a beer belly on me, and so my confidence was the biggest thing. I didn't like the
okay.
way I looked. I didn't feel well. I didn't sleep well. Um, Joint pain, all that stuff, kind of played into it.
Okay, cool. And then so we kind of met through a mutual, friend, chiropractor of yours. You were already offering weight loss in your business. But like, can you kind of talk a little bit about what you were doing prior to bringing in the VIP weight loss system?
Yeah, so we had a nurse practitioner on site every so often, and we were giving out the GLP-1 peptides to patients. Um, it worked. People lost weight, but I always felt that something was missing. There's a high relapse rate if people don't make some form of nutritional change, and I had seen some of that, and so we said we needed to find something better. Kind of a program that went full circle with people and really taught them how to stay healthy long term.
Okay. And so, the biggest thing, I remember talking about is one, you felt like more of your current clients should be, converting to wanting to do weight loss. That was a big thing we talked about. And then also you felt like, your clients needed a little more help holistically, not just the peptides, but like something that actually, gave them some habits and really changed up their nutrition. What did you kind of see initially in the VIP program, or maybe even see from Christy, who was the one who recommended you that you were kind of missing out on?
Yeah, so I sent my office manager over to see Christy. They're about an hour and 15 minutes away from us, and she came back and she was sold on it right away. And I said, "Well, hold on, I don't know anything about this." But the big thing was Christy's patients were passionate. They had results that we could see, and their system was so organized. And our system previously, we were just running it, and it seemed like there was a lot of extra work going into it for a profit, but a small profit.
Okay, good. And then, you kind of went through the process of obviously doing your homework on, our system. What would you say were like the main one or two things you really saw in our system that was like, hey, I can see how this is really going to help me, help more clients and bring this into my practice?
Yeah, so there were really two things. The first thing was the online platform for the patients, where they get the entire nutritional program with support, with the ability to communicate with other people in the program as well as me. The other thing was the marketing training, because my chiropractic practice will occasionally run ads or do stuff, but we are so much word of mouth. We have a great reputation in the community, so this being something new, and we weren't really pushing the old program, so those two things combined made me feel more comfortable about taking the leap.
Okay, cool. And so, obviously you started out, kind of going through the certification process and just really learning the program. What were maybe, initially the first couple of things you really noticed once you came into the program?
So the first thing I noticed was that I didn't know how to communicate with people as well as I thought I did. And, I never wanted to be involved in some gimmicky sales tactic or anything. That's not me. I'm not like, I don't do hard sales. I don't want people to leave saying, wow, that guy cares more about my money than me. And so the way we're trained to communicate, and we focus, so much on the patient and what the patient needs, that was the biggest thing that I learned right away.
Okay, cool. And then, give me a little bit about like the nutrition stuff and things like that. Cause I don't really know what your background is in that, but a lot of times people are kind of like, wow, I don't have to cut out a food group or I don't have to, you know, do the kind
Right.
of like starvation plan. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, in Cairo school, I took a 2-hour course on nutrition. Of course, as a doctor, I know somewhat more, and I learned a lot when I got in shape. But that's kind of was really the extent of my knowledge, with that until I got into this and I started learning more.
The nice thing about kind of what you're stepping into is regardless of how much you know or don't know, the nice thing is that you actually get to learn it and you obviously lived it, right? And you've got to kind of experience it almost as if you're a client, and then now you're able to lead other people in that. And I think that's one of the really powerful things is that, I know there's a lot of weight loss programs out there, especially, in the chiropractic space, but they just kind of let anybody, do it, like where we actually want you to get certified and like really live the program. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the certification process for us took about 5 weeks. We met with you, obviously. And I say we, my office manager kind of is involved in this too, because I have a busy practice. We met with Kim and Nick on the dietary side, and everything was spelled out, everything was online. We could do it at our own pace. And, if there were questions, there was always support. Even now, we're up and running and we're growing, but I still get messages from you and from Kim all the time. Hey, how are things going? Let's check in. Are you having any problems? So yeah, I'm very happy with it.
That's awesome. So you've been, obviously you got certified, you've been running the program for about 5 weeks. What have your kind of results been so far with how many clients you've signed up and then, revenue that you've been able to do?
Yeah, so I'll tell you first, our old program was averaging between 7 and 8 thousand in revenue a month. I was profiting 25% of that. I had a nurse practitioner to pay. I had medications to buy, lab work, all of that stuff. It was a lot of work for that too. The new program, yeah, we're 5 weeks in. We've signed up 14 so far.
Okay.
We have a number of good leads that we're still communicating with. I think this month, I think we're going to beat last month. We're going up. Our first month, comparing to the old program, we did 140% of the revenue that we had done in the old program. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And um, total revenue you've done around, we said around 21K. Was that correct?
21K in about 5 weeks. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And you like, what do you see this kind of growing to eventually, like number wise per month in revenue?
Man, I mean, I think the sky's the limit. Right now it's the challenge is, of course, we're still learning. We're still becoming better at communicating with people. We're getting that first group in. They're going to get results. They're going to refer. Some of them may need to go again, sign up again if they have, a large amount of weight they're trying to lose. So there's
Right.
going to be more referrals. The marketing is going to grow. I can't, easily 20K a month. And I think that might be selling us short. I really think it could do somewhere in the realm of at least 30.
Okay, cool. Awesome, man. Well, give me maybe like one or two unexpected results that you've gotten out of the program.
Man, so with me, if I eat poorly, I bloat. So that's a personal thing. My belly's flat again. That's nice. I care about that. The other thing is I'm actually building great relationships with you guys, other people who are going through this. I was talking to a guy named Blake yesterday about marketing stuff. Somebody else added me on Facebook who's in it. He wanted to share ideas. And then really the relationships with the patients. You really get to know these people well, and it's really rewarding because I know looking in the mirror now, what I look like compared to what I used to look like, and there's really no better feeling. So being able to share that with people is awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. One thing I was going to say is, I know a lot of chiropractors have, niche services in their business, but a lot of times their clients don't know that they actually offer those services. What has that been like for you with, your current client base and even people in the community just seeing you on, social media and more present there?
So I was kind of surprised. We have little pamphlets up in the office and stuff, and you'd occasionally get patients who would ask about the program previously, but it seems like 95% of our patients didn't know we actually offered weight loss.
Yeah.
And since we've kind of optimized, like our Facebook, we're sharing this in the office better. We've got a ton of interest. And so I was kind of shocked that no one knew what we were doing, but we also were not marketing experts, so we didn't really know what we were doing.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about, the marketing because I think a lot of times people feel like they have to be an expert, but like we kind of have that system dialed in that makes it really easy. But like, what has that been like for you also?
So yeah, so I mentioned earlier that the patients have a great platform they go on, and it's as fail safe as possible. You just kind of go down the list, and we have that too, right? With the marketing component of this and with the nutritional component. So I am not a tech savvy guy. I'm lucky I have younger doctors who can do computer work and stuff when something goes down in the office. I'll admit I was a little bit overwhelmed at first. We had a lot of work to do and stuff, but now I've kind of gotten my routine down. And so, I would say that I think anyone who puts their mind to it can do it. It's not as hard as it may seem.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. So any kind of last words with somebody who might be on the fence, whether or not they should do this program, like what would you say to that person?
So, I took my time signing up. I did my research. I looked at multiple options. Um, and in the end, really just for me, it was talking to someone else who was doing it and seeing how well she's doing. And I said, hey, I can do that too. And so, it was, it's been worth the investment. It's been worth the time training. I really enjoy this component of my job. And so I would say, do your research, talk to these guys. Um, Again, it's done for you. All you have to do is follow the program. When we first started, our first week, we were so excited, and we started blowing leads because we were not following the program. And I'm like, why are these people not interested? So we met up with you, of course, and you said, hey, dude, what are you doing? We taught you this program. We started implementing it, and we started selling. So don't be afraid. It's worth it.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. That's good advice. Well, hey, I want to thank you so much for joining on the show today. And then also just looking forward to continuing to watch you grow and succeed. Because I think you guys are going to do some big things. So thanks so much for being on the show today.
Hey, happy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Hey guys, if you want to connect further with a group of like-minded health professionals, chiropractors, join our habit-based lifestyle and business secrets group on Facebook. You can go down in the show notes, click the link, and you can go directly. If you guys want to find out, about our VIP weight loss system, you want to maybe talk to Josh, feel free to reach out to me, Jesse at habitbasedlifestyle.com. You can also find me on Facebook. Until next episode, have a great day.